Well, good day, everybody. Gary DeGrazia, Senior, EXP Real Estate. And today we are going into session 2 of the foundation training for off-market probate homes. You should all have session 1 by now. And again, our apologies that we had some audio problems and technical difficulties with the live presentation that we tried to do this week. But we think it all turned out for the best because now we have a clear recording of this. And then if you need to ask me questions, which a lot of people were on Monday on the live session, just go ahead and email them to me and we'll be all good. We'll get those answered for you right away. Okay? So today what we're going to be talking about is contacting the estate the way we have been doing it, the way we have been teaching it to our network agents that are with us. And we're, of course, once we enlighten you on how we are doing things, like anything that we teach, feel free to add in or subtract whatever you want that makes you feel warm and fuzzy the way you do your business. Just understand that the way we've been doing it has been successful. Of course, we've had our times when things weren't working and we had to adjust and whatever, but over 30 years, we kind of, at this point, know how to do this. So you could generate business on an ongoing, process. So you always have something that you're working on in probate, and every week brings new opportunities, and it's just a great place to be. Our market is slowing right now, as you all know, and what used to be a very easy market of just putting a sign up now takes some marketing on the agents. They better know what they're doing today. It's not just putting any price and putting a sign up and you have multiple offers. Prices are going to be more in tune to what the house is truly worth, not just to get a contract and beat other people out. So what we're moving into, we don't know what degree of how far into this market, how far it's going to sway over to a buyer's market or not. We still don't know yet because it's still early in this transformation. But this is a cycle that we go through, usually every 7 to 10 years. So we're just going into that next cycle. It's really a good thing because it allows the prices to come down some for buyers that were getting priced out of the market to be able to purchase again, for buyers to be able to actually shop for a home and maybe have 2 or 3 choices and make an offer and negotiate without worrying about, I'm not going to get a house unless I give them more money and not ask for anything. Okay, so we're done with that for the moment. Who knows how far, it will go. So take advantage of that. And this is especially a great time for probates because when we're talking to the estates now, as we go over the next several months and this market continues the way it is, they're not going to feel, these estates are not going to feel that they have a gold nugget in hand. It's going to start switching to, God, I hope somebody will buy this, or maybe we need to fix it up a little bit. I hope we can get our price. And that's where we really want estates to be at. So when we come in and negotiate that with them, they're in a better frame of mind than hearing from every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you got a gold nugget. Just put it on the market. You're going to get 5 offers above asking. It's going to appraise, blah, blah, blah. And that's what we've been dealing with, right, for a lot of years. But we still thrive during that time because as long as you're working and doing this system, you're going to have opportunities from any of the levels, the 5 levels that we have taught you or teaching you. Any way you go, if you decide you want to represent investors, it's going to be a good time for you as the market slows. Because the only problem will be on the exit strategy. You're going to have to be priced right, which means you have to really buy them right. And then when you fix them and really have to be dialed into your price on the exit strategy, because the house is going to have to compete with other listings on the market. Not like it was with limited inventory. As more listings stack up and things don't sell and prices are starting to reduce, it's just cutting all the fat away right now. It's just cutting all of the unrealistic sellers who were just throwing it out there and their agents at any price. And it was working. They were getting offers more than the property probably was really, really worth. But that's a terrible place to be buying in as a consumer or for agents that are buyer's agents like we are, we consider ourselves buyer agents, not listing agents. Remember what I said, I don't want listings. We take them as a byproduct under level 3, right? But what we want is transactions. We want escrows. We don't want to be taking buyers out and showing them 25 houses either, selling carpets and drapes. We are bringing offers to the estate. And it could be an investor deal, it could be a landlord for a hold rental, or it could be a retail buyer. And in this type of market that we're starting to slip into is ideal for that. So think good about that, okay? So then we're going to talk about the presentation, the way we present to the estate once we have an appointment with them. We don't know if we're going in there to buy it, if we're going in there to just list it, or bring them an offer yet, right? So my presentation, as you're going to find out, is 75% about probate, because we want to leave that presentation with that PR executive administrator understanding that, wow, these guys know what they're talking about with probate. And our questions that we lead them with is, hey, whoever else you're going to interview, that's great. It's smart to interview agents. First of all, you got to like that person and want to do business with them. And then secondly, you want to make sure they're the best agent for you. And it doesn't matter if they're a mega top producer. If they don't know probate, it could, cause some problems for the estate. Get you into a situation that maybe you don't want to be in. So we explain to them certain things. If agents that you're interviewing aren't bringing this up to you, they don't know probate. Doesn't matter how good agents they are, how many properties they've sold. They don't know probate. And you want to do what's best for the estate and all the heirs that you represent. That's a powerful statement, okay? And you'll learn more about this as we go. And then we're going to show you about writing the car probate offer, because this has to be on a car probate deposit receipt. You don't use the same one that you use in your business today, although it's basically the same. There's just a few subtle changes in the contract. We're going to go through that. And most important will be the addendum that I use that allows me to lock up the property, go under the independent administrations, control the sale, control the estate attorney. So all these outside sources that are going to come into play once the estate decides to do something with the property are not going to affect us too much. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover today. And so let's get busy. So first of all, some of our tools in our toolbox when we are prospecting, okay? This was put together by Gary Jr. Gary is a master prospector. He was trained, he was under Mike Ferry's group for a while. He was right hand to Dean Souza, if you know who he is, a top producer, Mike Ferry coach and all this. So Gary learned, Dean's a personal friend of mine, and a lot of his stuff rubbed off on me as well. But Gary put this toolbox together on the items that he uses as he's prospecting to the estates and how he trains our network agents to do it. Doesn't mean you have to use them all. We're just, again, giving you the foundation, open your eyes what we do. So he'll use a Google Voice phone number. He likes that because it's not tied to us direct. It's not tied to a real estate company. And it's just a number that the estate, when they call back, they don't know who they're calling back, right? We like that. We don't want to be labeled a real estate agent right away. If it's tied to your cell phone and it says Gary D. eXp Realty or whatever, we don't want that to be tied to us up front. We don't want to be eliminated. He uses the slide dial or what call app. And what that is what you're going to find out when you're going after estates is a lot of times you're not going to be able to reach them by the telephone. Even though we have the numbers 60% of the time on the leads each week, it's going to be a process to get a hold of these PRs because other people are calling them. We are not the only ones working probates. As evident that 2,000 homes go through our area here in the Bay Area in probate every year. We have 2,000 leads. Of those, you saw my 2016 production that was, $16 million in probates, but that was basically about 11 properties, okay? And some of those we double-ended them, some of them we did the double-end plus a listing, some of them we did the double-end listing and the resale, some of it was just a listing, some of it was just a sale. But the point is, on 11 deals, we did that kind of money, close to $300,000 in commissions I earned, and that was after splitting a lot of those, most of those, with network agents like you're going to do with me, because we were working on them together. And out of 11 properties out of 2,000, that is not very many properties. What is that? A little over, not even 1%. All right. So a lot of other properties are there, and you just keep plugging, you just keep pushing. So what we do is instead we try calling the estate, of course. Most of the phone numbers are going to be cell phones. And we call 3 times a week, as you will learn, at certain times, because we want to have a system in place that we know Monday mornings from 10 to 12 we're calling, or 10 to 11, at least an hour, maybe 2. And Wednesday after 6 we're calling for an hour, and on Saturday or Sunday we're calling for an hour to those same leads of the past week that were released. Remember, on leads, we release them every Friday night. If you're with our system, you'll be getting leads every Friday night, or you'd be getting your own leads, and that's what you work on the week coming up, all week, trying to get a hold of those estates, sending out flyers to those that you don't have phone numbers, and all what we do. Then that Friday, the end of the next week, you get another batch to work on, and then you're following up. So what we'll do is, by the third call, they're not picking us up for whatever reason, we'll leave a message, and in some cases, we'll use slide dial, which goes right to their cell phone. It doesn't ring, and it leaves them a message, okay? That's fabulous to do that. And some of those people, if you use the right messages that we're going to show you that we do, you'll get some good feedback on that. And you couple that with sending flyers, the right flyers to them, on hot buttons that you will do, and all we're trying to do is raise their curiosity, so they'll be calling us and say, okay, what are you guys offering here? Tell me about this no commission program. Tell me about this fix-up program. What's this all about? What's your commission rate and all this stuff? They're trying to eliminate us, right? Because there's so many agents calling them with so many deals. We give them a package that's pretty hard to say no to, at least interviewing us, okay? So you'll be learning that. We're going to show you the scripts that we have used. Now, these are general scripts that are just going to start you in the right direction. You'll be able to take bits and pieces of these scripts that you like, maybe change it around a little bit for you. But what I tell everybody is, before you start changing things, maybe try it for 90 days minimum, better 6 months, the way we do it, and see if you're getting responses. And if you're not, then we can have a conversation and say, okay, I'm going to ask you. Because a lot of the agents that are with us are on an accountability call with me every week on Friday. So we have a 15-minute call blocked out, and we go over what they did the last week. How many calls they made to PRs, how many conversations did they have, and a few other things that we put them in an accountability. And what happens is, subconsciously, they know that they're having a call with me on Friday. If they tell me, well, I couldn't call any this week because, little Billy had 2 softball games this week I had to go to, and Uncle Harry and family was in town, and I tell them, that's just an excuse. That's why we put you on a time management program. And from Mondays from 9 to 11, that's when you call. If somebody has a softball game, oh well, that's your choice if you're going to miss it or not. It's very easy to say, well, I'll call later this afternoon 3 to 5, or I'll call tomorrow 9 to 10. What you're doing is establishing that you're not consistent subconsciously in your business, and it's very easy for you to change it, and more things will come up, and pretty soon you're all over the map. So even if it's just an hour, and remember, you're only going to have about 30 or 40 leads a week, 50 some weeks. Only about half of them, or 60% of them, are going to have phone numbers to call. The other ones, you'll be sending out your flyers. You can do that all in a couple hours a week. So the reason we're calling during the weekday, the weeknight after work, and the weekend is we're not sure when's the best time to get a hold of that PR. So we're trying all 3 slots. But if you dial that in, and the only time you change that time frame is if, of course, you're on vacation, or there's an illness in the family, or some emergency. Otherwise, you plan around it. Okay, yeah, well, Mondays is when I go. My buddy wants to start meeting on Mondays now, and he's a source for a lot of business for me. He's a loan broker. Well, great. Meet with him, but say, I can't do Mondays. My prospecting. Can we do Tuesday? Hey, Monday's my only day off, Gare. I work 6 days a week. Okay, well, how about Monday afternoon? Let's do it then. How about Monday evening? We'll meet for dinner. You can make this work if you really want to, because that's what I'm going to ask you. If you decide to get even more involved with us and want to be in the inner circle with us, we're going to put you on accountabilities. And all this is to help you. Okay? So, scripts, look at them. We'll go over a few of them today, but they're important. At least start you out. And then down the road, after trial and error, you can start adding things, and we tell you how to do this every time you call. We have email drip systems. So every week, we get 30 or 40 leads, and let's say we're sending out 40 flyers to those leads on top of the calls and messages we left. We don't want to be handwriting every one and have to do that. Some of you will, but we're trying to get emails from the estate. So if we have that, we put it on a drip mail system, and you can even do your flyers on a drip mail system. You can use postcards. Vistaprint has a postcard program where you line up all your postcards. So we do this with our probate postcards, and we tell them when we want these released. Every 7 days, once a month, whatever. The postcards are already done. There with them. We upload our mailing list and add to it when we get new emails from PRs or clients, and those go out automatically for us. So we're not doing that, okay? Or we're not paying an assistant to do that. Now you can. If you have an assistant already, have them do that for you. And maybe they're bringing in you an extra deal or so a month because of this effort, which is paying their salary and making you a little bit more money. Or if you're on your own, use Vistaprint. We're busy people. Even though I'm semi-retired, most of what I do right now on those hours that I'm not out showing and selling and taking listings on property on my own, most of my time is with you guys on your appointments, or I'm out working with agents on building wealth for them with their business, or Gary Jr. is training our agents that are with us on their CRMs and KV Core, on how to market properly, how to prospect. We're busy. I'm not sitting home semi-retired. It's just that most of my time now, I'm at home. I go out once a week to the Bay Area because I'm out in Central Valley now, right? And I'll do appointments when they come up or whatever. Or if one of my agents has an appointment that comes up, they couldn't put it on the Thursday, I'll go out, make my schedule fit for that because I have free time every day, really, okay? I have certain things that I do. So you can do this, email drip systems, more on that later, but most of you should know all about that. It's just so that you're not spending all the time. You just set it up once and then you're just uploading addresses that you want it to go to. Direct mail is going to be good. Now, direct mail works in a few ways with probate because there's not as many as people sending flyers to them. Most of them will be students of mine that trained with me. They're not really networking with me. They're on their own. And sooner or later, they drop off after 6 months because they don't have the accountability the first 6 months to do that first deal. And once they get that first deal, and now they know, wow, yeah, that took 8 months. But wow, I made 25 grand. I want more of these. I'm going to tighten it up even more, right? They leave before that first deal, and they're off to the next golden goose, okay? I've been here 30 years, folks. I'm a top producer. Probate is the reason. So just factor that in. And then Gary has a Google Calendar that we work off because we have, like I said, we have just about 90 agents we're dealing with right now in the Inner Circle team. We have a lot of agents that are networking with us on deals from all different brokerages all around. So we have to calendar when we have appointments, when we're available, when we're not, things like that, that they work off of to plug in times when they need us. Whether that be going on an appointment, whether that be for specialized training or whatever. Okay? All right, great. So when you're dealing in probate, you're going to have to know, you're going to have to understand what the personal rep, where they are coming from, okay? It's a different seller than what you're used to in your business right now. This is bottom line free money that they are getting. The PR most of the time is getting, the executive administrator is getting a piece of this, if not all of it. There's other heirs are getting a piece of it that we're dealing with. We're only dealing with the people that are getting a piece, in our case, our focus, of the real estate once it's sold, those proceeds. It's free money. Now, what this does, it makes it a little bit easier to negotiate with people because it's not a seller that is, upside down and they need some money to get moving out of there. It's not a seller that needs every dollar to move up to the next house they want. So they're harder to negotiate what you want. It's more pie in the sky when the sellers put a price on a property. Hopefully you'll agree with me. A lot of times their value on the property has no bearing on what the true value is in the marketplace. It's because they want to do something with the money and they need X amount of dollars. And that's why they're saying, we need this out of the house, okay? And you have to understand that, and you have to be able to negotiate with these people. But for the most part, they're going to be a lot easier to deal with. And put it to context, let's say that the net estate was going to net $500,000 from the deal that you brought to them. And there's 5 heirs, they're each going to get $100,000. That's what they think. If it was a perfect world, we each are going to receive $100,000. And then we sit down with them and tell them, yes, there's a possibility if we do this, fix the property up a little bit, put it on the MLS and wait out the market, there's a chance you're going to get $500,000. The deal I have on the table for you right now will give you $85,000 each. See, I don't say, because I'm looking for them to reduce the price $75,000. I don't say $75,000. I say $15,000 a piece if there was 5 heirs, or if there was 10 heirs. I need you each to take $7,500 less, and we can put this deal together. That's how you want to break down your price reductions. And remember, that $500 could be the as-is condition property, and that property fixed up that needs $40,000 will be worth $600 or $625. But they want $500 because they each want $100,000. To some of them, it just sounds good. The other ones are trying to buy something else or whatever. And we have to get them realistic and say, in this case, because of these reports, now that we have, we're in escrow, we're doing due diligence, we're trying to get them 100. Here's why we can only give you 85. If you can take 15 less, each of you, we got a deal. We're going to close in 5 days. Normally, you're going to get it. But the mindset is they're getting free money. So put that in the back of your head. You just have to, deal with common sense and show them why it's a good deal. And you give them the option. If you absolutely need the 100, let's put it on the market. And we'll go see if anybody will give you that 100. I hope they do. I'll just be your agent on it. We'll keep our offer on the table. And if it doesn't sell in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever you want to test, then our offer will be on the table. We'll just have to make sure that our investor is still thinking the same numbers, as long as the market hasn't changed. Okay? So that's how we do this, okay? This particular PR, personal rep, administrator, executive, was not looking to be involved in the real estate market. It's just part of the task they have to do to settle the estate. They're a nervous wreck usually on this. Their life has been put on hold doing with this. They're dealing with a whole different set of emotions than your typical sellers will be, okay? And one of the biggest one is they're worried about the heirs, thinking they did something wrong or they didn't give them enough money on the sale. They don't want anything coming back on them. So next Thanksgiving, when they're sitting at the table with these people, it's not kind of chilly in that room because some of the heirs are upset with them, or maybe didn't even show up because they're there, or they decided not to go because all the heirs were going to be there, and they feel that there's, some ill feelings. This is what's going on in their mind. So what we do is help them realize that there's checks and balances all through this process, that your heirs are going to have the right to give their opinion. They could stop it if they want to, and we're going to sift through all that and make sure that if we enter into this listing or this purchase, they all agree with it up front, okay? And that's going to be your insurance policy, that you're not going to have any ill feelings after the fact. These PRs could be out of state. I told you I'm dealing with one in Oklahoma right now. We're meeting with her next week to possibly either buy her brother's property or list it, whatever she wants to do. We're gathering all our facts right now. She's tired coming out here. So when you find on your leads that they are PRs that are out of state, that's a hot button. You want to work them really good, okay? Because they want to get their life back in order. They want to get this house out of their, hair, off their plate, because that's usually the biggest issue. They're worried about a house that might be vacant. They're worried about vandalism, or there's tenants in there. They're worried about the tenants, tearing it up, not paying the rent, or whatever. So when we come along and give them some alternatives with that, they usually open their hand, with welcome arms. Thank you. If we could make this work, that would sure make my life a lot easier, Gary. Okay? So, and more times than not, they are inexperienced with the probate process. They don't know what's going on. And the estate attorney's office really doesn't give them too much, coziness on making sure that they understand everything that's going on. Usually they're dealing with the paralegal of the office, not the attorney direct. And they don't get a whole lot of information, just what they need to know and do, okay? Basically, it's forms. Do this, do that, do this. But there's a lot of things that, because I've been doing this for so long, I've heard all the feedback from PR after PR after PR and executor and administrator once they're into that deal, and I know what the general feeling is there. So we answer those, those questions up front when we're sitting with them. Okay, so let's talk about some scripts when you're going to start contacting the estate. So the first thing is when we leave a message, okay? So a lot of times we'll leave a message like, hello, and now it's an answering form. So we say, hi, this message is for Joe Smith. This is Gary D. at Probate Services. We have not met, but I came across a file down at the Alameda County Courthouse. It has your name on it and contact info as the potential executor for the Smith estate. Please give me a call back. I'd like to ask you a few questions before you go to court on November 23rd. And again, my name is Gary D., and I can be reached at 555, your number. Okay, and thank you, Joe. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Bye. So what we're doing with this message, you can even cut it down more than this, okay? But this is giving you the whole context. And you can actually get to the point and say, hi, this is for Joe Smith. Joe, this is Gary D. I'm with Probate Services. I'm calling you regarding your court date that's coming up on November 23rd for the Smith estate. I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you about that hearing before it comes. Again, I'm Gary D., Probate Services. Could you give me a call, please? My number is 555, whatever. Thanks again, Joe. Looking forward to speaking to you. Now, what I'm doing there is planting a seed that I may be from the court, okay? Now, we're not trying to pull one over on them. What we're trying to do is just get them to respond, because we know they need to hear our story, because we're bringing them a lot of good. This is just not about buying their house wholesale or listing it. It's about offering them options that you're going to learn, that we give them. And then after they're educated on all the options, they're going to make the decisions what's best for them and their family. So if you don't get the opportunity to present this to them, they're losing out, and so are you. So that's why that short message usually will arouse their curiosity on what does the court want, and they're going to call you back. And then you go into those scripts on that, which we'll show you later, okay? Now, when you're talking to them direct, you can, they answer the phone, hello, in that rare occasion that they're actually going to pick up the phone now. Now, in the first week, remember, our leads come on the first week or two at the latest that petition's been filed. You got a better chance for them to pick up the phone. But as this gets into a month or so, more people are going to have called them. You're going to hear the statement, you're the 10th guy that's called me in the last 2 weeks. What's going on? That type of thing, okay? So if you call right away, your leads are available with us anyway, Friday night. I'd be calling Saturday morning and try to get through all of them. But basically, hi, is this Joe Smith? Hey, yeah, it is. Hey, Joe, we haven't met. My name is Gary D. I'm with, XYZ Real Estate. I came across, or you could say, what I like to say is I'm with EXP Probate Services. I came across a file at Alameda County Courthouse with your name as going to be the person who's going to be the executor over the Smith estate. Can you just tell me if that's right? Is that true? Yeah, that's correct. What do you want? How can I help you? Well, I see that you're scheduled to go to court on November 23rd to be approved, right? And I just wanted to know that once you're approved, will the estate be selling the property during probate or after final distribution when the probate is all over? Or are you going to rent it? Or what are you going to do with it? Because this is what we do. We work with estates. I'm not selling right now because, and you listen what they say, okay? It'll be a multitude of reasons. You just agree with them, and all you're going to try to do is say, great, I understand, whatever you want to say, okay? But they may say, when you tell them what you do a little bit, they say, well, I'll think more about it, after the probate is over. Hey, that's great. I'm with a team that has over 30 years of probate real estate experience. I like to set up a time with you, during this probate process to explain what we offer, all of your options. So if you come to that time where you want to sell the property, you're going to know in advance what all the different options are. And believe me, no one else is going to give you these options the way we do it because this is all we do, okay? Or they may say, yeah, it is. We're going to sell it. Hey, when is the best time for you to get together then? Can we meet tomorrow, or would the weekend be better? Because they're telling you, yeah, we're going to sell it, okay? They're going to give an answer, and whatever that may be. No, I don't want to meet right yet. Call me in a month, or call me after I'm approved, or call me after final distribution, whatever they say. And say, great. Before you go, I'd like to email you some info on who we are, what we do, what value we can bring to you. So if you decide later on that you're going to do something and you want to interview us, you'll know what questions to ask. We're going to give you all the options available to you. Because what we're looking for is the email. And we'll ask them, what's the best email to send you this stuff to? Because if you get the email, we're going to be able to put them on the drip system, right, with an email. No cost for that. We have our attachments in it with what we're sending them. Boom. In our drip system. And however you want to do it. Plus, we use a newsletter that we have that goes out every 2 weeks via email. And it's unlimited contacts. And that keeps our branding also in front of them. And general real estate information and other things, okay? So that email is all important. And if all you get is the email when you first reach out to the estate, that's great. That's fantastic. Because that's going to allow you now to brand and try to build a relationship over the next 7 months that this probate is going, okay? And it only gets better. If you don't get the email, then you have to send hard copy, flyers, snail mail, and most of the time that goes into the round file, right? Okay? All right? Okay, so there's going to be some objections that come up when you're on the phone, and just some of the ways that you can handle these. Of course, you're going to hear other things as you come up. It's for one thing that we know that's certain that never changes, that there's always new things that we learn on every call, every probate that we do. So some of these objections that will come up, this is how we have handled them in the past. Hey, I'm not selling the home, Gary. Okay, great. I'm just curious. What are your plans then with the home? You going to rent it? You going to refi it out? You moving into it? Just curious. And listen to what the PR says, right? And then you repeat it back to them, whatever they said. And then you say, yeah. Hey, your plan sounds great, Joe. In the meantime, I would like to email you information on homes in probate. Hey, it's no obligation or commitment from you, but it'll give you some information that you need to know. So if down the road something changes, you'll know some of these options or questions that you want to figure out, and it will really be a help to you. And again, no obligation. What's the best email for you? And a lot of times you'll get it. Okay? If not, you got to keep working harder with other things that you do with follow-up. Okay? Or they tell you, hey, I'm going to move into the house, okay? I'm an heir. Or they say an heir is living there. Hey, fantastic, Joe. Hey, we both know sometimes things change, right? I'll tell you what, I'm going to stay in touch with you if you're okay with that. In the event something changes, we could talk more then about the property and what we do. Does that sound good? That sounds good, Gare. And the reason they'll say that is because you're letting them off the hook right now. They know that you're leaving, right? And I say, in the meantime, Joe, I'll send you some information, no obligation or commitment, just valuable information for a PR, handling the home and probate. What's your email? I get it to you. This will really help you and open your eyes no matter what you do. And if you do decide you're going to sell somewhere down the line, I'd love to be one of the agents that you interview with. Okay, that's non-threatening there. Again, what are we looking for here? Set an appointment? Well, yes, if we can. If they say, yeah, I'm going to sell it, let's talk, then of course we're setting an appointment. 90% of the time, we're not going to say that. So what's the next best thing we want? Email. So we could be sending our email. Or they tell you, I can't do anything until after I'm approved to be the executor. Hey, I understand why you think that way, Joe, but for over 30 years, we have sold homes in probate to PRs before court approval. Now, if you really want to get it done now and get this thing done, and it's just subject to you being approved, we need to meet so I can show you how we do this. It's no obligation to you. I could even do this for you with no commission, and I can show you how this will work. Does tomorrow sound good for you? Is a weekend better that I can show you how to do this? You struck some hot buttons there. They can sell now. Get this off their back. They might be getting a lot of calls. They tell you that. This is how you can get all that stopped. Okay? Blah, blah, blah. And then when we meet with them, they're going to say, and no commission you put in there. And we can get you retail. No commission. Because I'm going to bring them a retail buyer, right? And remember, from the last session, the buyer's paying the commission. We just got to make sure if I'm charging 6, that we're not paying more than 94% of the current value of the property. And that buyer will be happy to pay market value. Of course, it's adjusted for condition, right? But the estate knows that. So that's a good one there. Or, hey, I already have an agent, Gary. Hey, great. Who is that agent, by the way? I want to know if it's their brother, a family member, or somebody like that, best friend. Because most likely, that agent is going to get that deal no matter what, how good our offer sounds, right? But I'll say, hey, that's great. There are a ton of licensed agents nowadays, right? And almost everybody knows one. The thing is, Joe, probate isn't anything like general real estate at all. So unless your agent, your brother-in-law, your sister, whoever it is who's a probate expert, right, in their case, you're making yourself vulnerable to specific liabilities associated with selling a home in probate. So at least would be a smart move to hear what we have to say so you could check it out with your sister-in-law if that's who you're going to list the property with. And who knows, we may be able to bring you an offer even though she's going to be the listing agent, right? It can still work for everybody. And then I'll end it with, and by the way, is your sister-in-law selling it for no commission? Huh? What? Oh, I don't know. Well, she's family. I don't think she's going to do it for nothing, but yeah, probably she can't, right? Is she a broker of her own office? No. Well, she probably has a split and expenses and all that. We bring offers to the estate, no commission. So again, it'd be a smart move to know about this. I'm sure the heirs would want to know about that, right? And I'm not talking about just a investor, lowball offer. I'm talking about retail we can bring you. Oh, okay. Well, again, did she say no commission? Well, no. Okay, well, we do. Let's set up time to meet. I'll explain how the probate real estate really works, all your options, and how we can sell the home prior to your court date without charging you a commission. Does tomorrow work for you, or is a weekend better? Okay? That's it on that script. And what you're going to be doing is some way, shape, or form, you have a dialogue, a conversation that started. And remember, on the first session, I said, let's have 25 is your goal, conversations and relationships that you're building with PRs. That's your goal. Well, this is how we get those. And now you have an email if you were good enough to get it, or you have an appointment, or to follow up. If they tell you, yeah, follow up with me after I'm approved, great, Joe, I'll do that. I'm sure it's going to go right 95% of the time. The PRs are approved that date. Don't worry about it. Do you know where you're going down to the Alameda County Courthouse? Yeah, whatever. Great. In the meantime, I'm going to send you some info. What's your email? I'll get it over to you. I won't bother you until after you're approved. We'll see where we're at. Get that email. That's what we want. Okay? All right. Now, let's talk about making your presentation. Again, this is foundation. So I'm kind of giving you an overview, a summary of what we do, some detail, but I can't go into everything because this in itself is an hour to an hour and a half presentation. Those will be the one-offs that we do later on. Some of you that decide to be inner circle with us, okay? Network brokers, we just go with you and do the presentation. You'll learn as we're doing. There's a lot of options for you. But what we do, when we're going on our listing appointment, we're not there to show them how great we are as far as selling the property, and we have all these bells and whistles to market your property. Here's our marketing program. Now, I've been around over 40 years in the real estate. There is only so many ways to market real estate, okay? Nobody has something that nobody else can't do, all right? It's getting a property known to the public, basically, online. You know, signs, flyers, things like that, canvassing the neighborhood. You know, it's basically all the same with a few minor twists, right? So what we do, knowing that, is most of the agents that are going to be coming to them to interview, most of them are not going to be probate focused. They'll have a little information. It could be somebody that trained for me. This is inner circle training that you're receiving right now, even though you're not with us, okay? And you're getting the preliminary end of the inner circle training. And what we do here is when we go and sit with that particular PR, we're going to talk and show them the petition for probate that's filed, their probate for their property. How impressive is that? Hey, that's my deceased. That's the file. That's my file. Yes. We're going to show them what the letters will look like when they're approved, what their letters that petition for letters that went to the court. We're going to talk to them about notice to creditors and what that 4-month period means to them. I can't tell you how many agents don't understand that they can't close the probate or do anything, even though they sold the house. They can't get the proceeds until final distribution, and nothing during this 4-month period. It doesn't mean that this house can't sell and the proceeds are transferred to the estate bank account, which is better for the estate, because then once they're ready to go to final distribution, everybody a part of that, attorneys, everyone that's getting paid out of it, knows that the asset is now liquid in the estate bank account. That's going to help them close out a little quicker. But I have had agents that didn't tell them about this. They closed the sale, and bam. Hey, we're told we can't touch the money for another 3 months. What's going on, Gary? Oh, well, let me check. All right. Then they find out, oh shit, they this letter of credit. Then you got to go back and explain to them, and they're not happy with you because they might have went out. It has happened before to me. They went out and bought a house. I had one. The guy bought a house. It was his mom's home he was selling. He was getting about $500,000 out of it, splitting with his sister, and his sister was going to give him $400 of it to go buy another home. And escrow was closing. He goes out and buys a house, puts a down payment on it, and has to come up with the rest of the money all cash, what he thought would have been good timing because it was scheduled to take place about 2 weeks after we closed his mom's home, probate. And when he told me that, I said, what are you doing, Bill? You can't do that. You're not going to have access to that money. Well, what do you mean, Gary? The house is closing. Why wouldn't I have the money? Okay. Well, I didn't know at that time that they couldn't. So I learned by doing. This happened years ago. So I had to go out and get a hard money loan for the guy against the property, which he didn't own. I had to get the attorney to be in agreement for it because they couldn't take more money out of the estate than the debts against the estate were, because then there would be no money to pay the debts, pay the attorney's fees and all that. But I was able to put it together. But it cost this guy $10,000 for this loan, hard money loan, and it wasn't that much, $100,000, a couple $100,000, just to put down what he needed. And we had the seller, the estate carry, it wasn't estate, sorry, the seller and his buy carry the balance of it just until final distribution, 3 months later, then they would pay off that loan. Okay? So the agents that are going in front of these people, if they're not telling them about this, are they obviously a probate expert? I make sure they know this on my listing presentation. And not in a bad way to play down other agents. I just say, there may be a great agent that's coming. Maybe he's the guy that's listed everything in this neighborhood, or gal, and they're the guru in this neighborhood. They have the most listings or sales. Yeah, that's great for the real estate part of this. But if they don't know the probate side of it, it may not work for you. Could cause you problems, okay? We're going to protect you all through this escrow that something happens with the probate process, you're not liable to sell a house you can't sell, okay? We're going to talk to them about this estate of bank account they need to open, because when we sell their home, it's going to be within the probate process. They're not going to be able to get these funds like I just mentioned. So it's going to go to the estate account in your name and the deceased name. It's going to be wired transferred from title company because you can't touch the funds. And boom, they'll be sitting there till when we close. So you can't do nothing with these funds until your final distribution, right? We're on the same page? Yeah, we are, Gary. Great. All right, but I need a little money right now. Well, if you need some money right now, we could probably put a loan against the property for you. You have the right to do that as the executive. I have a hard money guy that will do that, okay? And we'll get you a few funds. We'll get it cleared with your attorney and all that, and that'll help you whatever you're doing. You need 10 grand or something like that, okay? All right. We're going to explain to them what certified letters are, full authority versus limited, and how it's so important to have full authority because you're going to get your best deals that way. That's going to allow the no down VA FHA buyers to be able to buy your home who pay the most money. Otherwise, you have to go to the court for court confirmation of sale, which is going to require a 10% down payment. So I ask you, Bill, how is the VA buyer who may want to pay you your price on this house and it's $500,000, how's he going to put up 50 grand up front when he's getting in with no down and he's probably scraping together the closing costs? So what's going to happen there? They're going to bypass your home, and that's 50 to 60% of the market and more in some areas. Is that good for you in the estate? No, it's not. So you got to understand full versus limited, and sometimes if they're limited, I'll tell them, ask your attorney if you can petition for full authority. Now, I'll try to have a listing signed already or my contract, and I'll put in the contract PR, executor, to petition the court for independent administration's full authority and see if we can get that redone. Costs a little bit of money and time, but it's much easier if we get that, okay? Doesn't happen very often, but you can do that, okay? We're going to tell them about when selling the property, what the title company is going to require. We went over that in session 1. Certified letters, right? You need the NOPA. I need a statement from the PR, the executive administrator, or the state attorney that the Fed taxes are in order. Now I tell them, Joe, if the agents you are interviewing behind me, or you have interviewed already, aren't mentioning you these items, they don't know probate because you can't close your deal without these. My title companies I've been using, one for 30 years, two for 15, all have this down. They know my system. They know how we operate. We get all this up front. Okay? What happens when escrow closes? We're going to talk about that, with the money, and it's going to be transferred and things like that. We're going to go over attorney fees with them, how much they're paying. And do you realize that you can ask for the same fee? Well, I'm sole owner, Gary. I'm sole heir here. I go, great. You're getting all the money anyway. You don't have to worry about this. But what if there was 4 brothers and sisters? You're doing all the work. They're each getting basically 25%, but you say, hey, look, I'm doing all this work. My life's on hold. I would like to get this fee up front for doing that, a little extra. And if not, if you want to do it, you do it. I gladly let you have the fee. And that's a way for you to get a little bit more money, as long as it doesn't upset the ears too much, and you're never going to get anything done, right? Okay? Then I'm going to talk to them about their options. And I'm going to talk to them. This is a flyer I use, and it's going to say, if you're looking to sell the estate home, okay, we can help with any of these options that you may have, okay? One of them is, if they're not moving into it, if they're not going into the house themselves, buying the estate home themselves, what some heirs will do, and they pay off the other heirs. I'll tell them, look, we can go all cash now, close in 25 days as is. No headaches for you. I'll explain all that. I'll explain to them my no commission program. I go, that's great. No commission, and we can bring you a retail offer. I'm going to talk to them about the MLS exposure program. Sometimes they say, we need to show the heirs that this was on the MLS everywhere and exposed to the world. Okay, we got a program for that. And I got a program that will actually charge less commission for you to do that. And I've talked about why I do this. I don't care about listings. I don't care if I'm only getting 1% on the listing. Because most of the money, or a good chunk of what I get on listings, we donate to the community. What I want is control of it. I want to make a little money to cover my costs for that particular property. So normally we'll be between 1.25 to 1.5, or 1 to 1.5. We'll add 2.5 for the selling side. I'm looking at the 2.5 where we make our money. I want to be the agent that sells our property. So we're working really hard to sell our agents. Even if it's one of my network agents sell our listing and we pick up that extra 2.5, there's 1.25 that comes my way. If I'm already getting 1.25 on the listing side, I got 2.5 now. Okay? All right? Remember my analogy on the first session about the furniture store man. Okay? This is how I look at this. Now, if you're doing a handful of deals a year, 4 to 6 deals, then yes, I understand. You need all the commission you can. But I'm not going to let that get in my way of getting and controlling that listing. And if I'll tell them I'll do it for 1% or 1.5, because I'm confident I'll sell it, and that's where I make my money. And don't you really want an agent working that hard for you that they have to sell it and give you what you want in order for them to really make any money on this deal? Usually they understand that, okay? All right. I have a 9999 flat fee program for properties that are $1 million and up. Don't use it all the time, but I have it. I'll do it for estates. Same theory. You're going to pay me 10 grand to list your property at $1 million, but I got a chance to make another 20 to 25,000, pick up 2 to 2.5 if I sell it, if I procure the buyer. Now I'm looking at making 30 to 35,000. How many of those do you need a year to make your year look really good? 6 figures or better. Then I have my fix-up program. We'll come in and fix up the entire home if that's what they want to do. And I don't mean just a lipstick. I'm talking about new kitchens, bathrooms, windows, roofs, pest clearances, whatever it takes, landscaping. We'll spend the money. We advance it. I have investors that provide this money. I do it myself as well. And then all we do is we don't charge them any loan fee, interest, or anything, but we charge them a full commission of 6%. So for a 6% commission, they're going to get 40, 50 grand, whatever it takes to take that house to top retail condition, and maybe they're picking up an extra 30, 40 grand because of it. Who cares if they paid an extra point or two in the commission? They don't, okay? And what happens in this, once I get into all the red tape with this, because it has to be recorded against the property, there are some expenses for that. It has to fit hard money parameters, although it's not a loan. Usually what they say is, you know what, I got enough on my table. Let's just sell the house, bring me something that's really good. I'm not going to do the fix-up. Or let's just do a small lipstick. And we're spending less than 10 grand to paint it, trash it out, clean it up a little bit, okay? That gets you appointments, folks, the fix-up program. Then I'll go through and I'll explain to them just certain questions, because I have a website they can go to. And you can look at it. It's probatehomepros.com. And there's questions here. Can I sell the estate home before I'm approved to be the executor? And they click on that, gives them the answer. Can I use any real estate answer? And all the way down. And it gives them, I tell them about this, and I send them there, probatehomepros.com. And there's recordings of me breaking down things. Okay, some of it's older now. We don't use it a whole lot anymore, but it's there. We're going to be revamping it again with newer videos, but it's there, okay, for them. Now, I'm going to go through the petition for probate, and it's usually going to be their petition. And I'm going to go everything. how and why people know what they're doing, how they know my phone number, what's going on here, and I explain to them. Here's your petition. Go through the whole petition. First page, second page. See where they list your real estate? Yeah. See where you put there's 50,000 owed on the home? Yeah. Where did you get that? Do you have a statement for that? Is that a guesstimate or what? Oh, I found the loan statement. We've been making payments on it. Oh, okay, because that's my next question. Are the payments up? Yes, they are. Okay, great. Sometimes you'll find an estate where it's $1 million property and they owe 650, and they got $4,000 or $5,000 a month payments. And are you making these payments right now? Well, I made one, but I don't have any more money to do it. I said, well, Dan, I guess it's really an incentive. Let's get this thing because you're eating up 4 to 5 grand of equity every month you don't pay this, right? And eventually they're going to file a notice of default and try to foreclose on you. Yeah, you're right, Gary. So let's figure out what we can bring you the most money, the fastest way, and get this done, okay? So I'm going through all that with them. I'll go through the error page with them and show them all the errors, how we get their information. And this is public information. I'm going to go through the duties and liabilities. I'm going to say, you realize these are all your tasks, right? Has your attorney gone through this with you yet? Well, they're starting to right now. I say, yeah, you got to get this done, and you got a timeline. And if you don't, there could be some repercussions. So you got to make sure you understand that. Call your attorney's office, talk to the paralegal if you have any questions that you need help on that, okay? Because we're not attorneys. We can't act as attorneys, but we can point and guide you what to do, who to go ask, okay? And I'm going to show them on the back. This is where we got your phone number and anybody else that's been calling you. And how to stop all this is you put a recording on your phone with this number is, this is Joe Smith, executor for the Tom Smith estate. We have sold the property or we have listed the property. Any questions that you may have, please contact Gary at 510 blah, 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 blah. That stops all the calls. I explained that to them. That alone sometimes will get you a signature that day if you got an appointment, okay? I'm going to explain to them the letters, what it looks like, and what does it mean by having full authority under the independent administrations, okay? That this is, again, this is just what goes to the court, and then once it's done, it will be certified, and that's the one document that the title company is going to need, right? They're going to have that in order to process and accept your signature to sign the grant deed. I'm going to explain to them the estate attorney fee schedule because it's important that they know that. Some point in time, the attorneys will explain that to them, or if it's in written form on paperwork they give them. But I want them to know that I know it. And I want them to know that you are entitled to this fee yourself. Okay? And that opens eyes sometimes. Nobody else is probably telling them that agent-wise. They don't know unless it's one of my inner circle network agents, okay? Then I'm going to explain to them a little bit about me, who I am, my biography, about probates, that I've been doing this for 30 years, that I offer the best book and I've trained agents since 1992 on how to do probate, that I have 90 team members with me, letters of references and things like that. Now, I didn't put a lot of this stuff into this because this session would be much too long, but when we break down things in the past, and the listing presentation is one that I break down, you'll see all this stuff. I go through my EXP resume right now because that's who I'm with and where I've been in the past, and we go from there just to show them that I've been around, okay? I'll give them some of my pertinent references right now. These are my title companies that I use, a couple of the attorneys that I have a relationship with. I'm going to go through that, and a couple letters from those attorneys explaining who I am in probate and why they probably want to use me or at least interview me. There's another one of the firms that utilizes my services. Then I'm going to go to a form that we put together. It's how to interview a probate real estate agent. And it asks all kinds of questions. I'm going to say, these are the questions you want to ask any other agents that are coming behind me or were ahead of me that you're considering. Have you sold estate property through probate or trust before? Yeah? How many? Okay, great. Do you have record of that you can show me? Can you handle fix-up properties? What can you do for me? Well, we can clear the trash out and paint it for you. Okay, that's it. You don't do remodels or anything like that. Well, we can arrange for that with our contractors. If you have the money to pay for it, we'll have to put a loan against it. They're not going to say we advance all the funds like we do. Okay. We'll say how long have you been selling probate and trust real estate? Oh, okay, 3 years. Gary's 30. Okay, all right. How is a probate and trust sale different from a typical real estate transaction? It's going to be interesting what they say there. What sets you apart from other agents? Okay, and I do my spiel, they'll do those, and I'm telling them, well, I'm well versed in probate expert. You would be saying our team leader has been doing this for 30 years. He's done over 600 probates. I represent his team in this area of San Jose, and he oversees all the probate sides, and I do all the real estate side. I just started with him. I'm very excited. He's the man as far as probates go. This is going to be your guide through probate. Okay, got it. We do fix-up programs where other agents will just offer to do a trash out, maybe paint your tree, and we do full remodels. Wow. We sell at no commissions. Most agents aren't going to tell you that, right? Because they don't have any other way to earn. Oh, that's right. So listen to your agents that you're interviewing, okay? And show me what you know. I want to know what you know about a probate sale. Have them tell you right there in the spot. If they're not telling you everything we're telling you, that's a red flag, okay? I'm just letting you know. It could be a perfectly top producing agent. Great person. But if they're not giving you the right answers, it may not be the right agent probate-wise for you, and your heirs may question you on it if you happen to choose the wrong guy, okay, or gal. Then, again, I'm going to talk about we are the Bay Area's premier estates. Again, they can go to my Probate Home Pros. We explain to them. There's videos there breaking down everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show them my flyer. It's a flyer that I send out. And you guys can use this. You just have to put your own branding in it, change whatever you want. But this is a powerful one. Estate home sold in 14 days, guaranteed. Yeah, we'll do that. We will buy their home in 14 days, even in a slower market. Of course, they're going to pay the price to do that. It's going to have to work on the right percentages of what we want to pay for the property. And usually anybody that's putting guarantees on homes, they're buying it at less than they can refinance it, okay? So they can get their money back out and then sell the property. But we'll do that. We got zero commission in here to fix up program, no upfront to the estate. Trash out personal property, we can do that. That's all they want. We got letters of recommendation. And then I do a 10% donation in the estate's name to St. Jude or to any charity that is close to the family. And it goes into the deceased name. And with St. Jude's, they get a certificate to that person's family in the name of the deceased for the donation that was made. It's a great momentum for them to have, memento, and they'll remember you for that forever, okay? We have a flyer that we'll send out to the estates, wanted. This is a wanted flyer that I used to do back in the 70s when I was farming retail tracts, and this worked like magic. Of course, it didn't talk about estate homes because it was just general real estate. But, wanted. A man selling homes in this neighborhood is looking for homes. We have more buyers and homes available. If you're interested in selling your home, contact Gary D. I used to get calls all the time. This one is to the PR. It says, I have a retail buyer who has an offer for you. Contact me today so I can show you how I can sell the estate home, save you thousands of dollars, no commission charge to the estate, as is. Plus, we're going to make a $250 donation to St. Jude's Children's Hospital in the estate's name. We get calls off of these. This is part of my drip system, right? So you could take that flyer, use everything, but put your own picture, branding, and all that, phone numbers, okay? Or get your own after you look at that and put your own thing together. It's just something that we want to keep our face, our contact information, our branding, and our message in front of them on a constant follow-up basis, okay? My fix-up program, I have a flyer that goes out for that. It just explains everything we do with the fix-up, okay? No upfront cost to the estate. It's complete rehab, and we supervise the rehab. Includes contractors who will work with us. The estate keeps all of the net dollars increase from the sale, okay? Cost to fix and repair comes out of the sale because we do record, if it's a $40,000 budget to fix, we do record that against the estate property. And when the sale goes and closes, they owe us that. But there's no payments going on, no interest accruing, and all I do is bump up the commission, and I pay the contractor out of my commission as a cost of doing business for me. Okay? But in essence, I charge the estate more for it. But they're still thinking 5 to 6 is normal, and I'm getting 40,000 worth of work done. And for that 40,000, I should be making 80 grand more gross. So I'm going to net 40 grand more to do this. Yeah, I'll do it. Or it gets you in the front door, and they end up not wanting to do that. You're just going to do a lipstick deal for a few thousand. Okay? We explain to them what they can expect. You know, we're going to show you how to get top dollar for the property if that's what you choose. Okay? In-depth property valuation and marketing. What I do when we are taking a listing on the property or we're making an offer, if we're having a hard time coming to the conclusion on the right price, I'll tell them, look it, I'll order a licensed certified appraisal from a third party neutral. They'll come in and do appraisal, and let's see what they say the value is. I'm saying it's worth this, you're saying it's worth more. Let's see what a certified appraisal does. Maybe that will help us meet closer together, and I'll pay for it, the $450, okay? But what we need to do with this is I need to have your listing signed that if we don't do business together, my offer that I'm going to get the listing so I can recoup, what I'm spending here, and I'll represent you and get you through the probate side. Okay, assistance every step of the way. We make sure that we reach out to them once a week and let them know what's going on, so they're going to have peace of mind. The estate savings, like I said, we're going to save them money and time. And of course, the communication is going to be great with them because that's what we pride on. Because I'm going to tell them, these are just not words up front to get your business. We're going to do this because when this is said and done, I want a letter of recommendation from you that'll help me with future business. And the same with your attorney. And I can't go to the attorney now and ask for it because they don't know me. But after they see how we work for you and after your letter of recommendation, if one is deserved, it's going to be easier for me to get that, and that'll help me with future business from that attorney. So we have a lot at stake here to do everything we say for you. And they'll understand and agree that. I'm going to tell them how we check the tax rolls. Here's your property. And you said it was 1,500 square feet, but it shows here it's only 1,400. So there's a 100 square foot discrepancy. We got to be right on that because that could cause problems later on. I'm going to explain to them Zillow. Hey, with Zillow, see this property here? Zillow said it was worth $877, but in reality, I ended up selling this property for $455 on the MLS because what Zillow does is take a group area. And where this was in Oakland, it had home in Temescal. It was on the opposite side of Temescal, but within a quarter of a mile, a few blocks, and the prices changed drastically. I'll show them Redfin and Zillow comps. And then I'm going to show them the MLS and start breaking down. Here's a property around the corner from yours. Basically the same house that sold in the mid-threes. Okay? And then we zero in on what the value is really looking at because all the public knows is what they see on Zillow and Redfin. So if you're seeing that the price is way out of whack like this one was at $877, what happened is some of the heirs were going to contest the sale when the NOPA went out because they're saying, hey, Zillow said it's $877. Why are we selling for $455? So I had to break all this down. I had to get the comps, and I offered, hey, I'll pay for a licensed certified appraisal, but this is wrong information that you're getting. Here's your real comps. And they eventually went for it, and we closed it, okay? I put together a fact sheet with the estate, and I'll tell them what the Redfin value says, what the Zillow value says, what the price per square foot value is for the combination of those, what the subject value is based on that price per square foot. And then I'll give them some recent comps. This is one that we were chasing in Atherton, and we were trying to buy it for around, I think we went as high as 1.8 on it. And to tell you the truth, we're still chasing this thing. It's been 3 years. But the property was probably worth $2.8 to $3 million fixed, but it was a tear down, so we were buying a lot only, and we offered 1.4, and so we were showing the estate values and the past sales and things like that. And I'll break it down even further here. I went in and showed, and this particular property was one we were doing in San Francisco that we actually did do, and we showed them again Redfin value, Zillow value, ORTC value. That's my title company's comps, MLS comps. Then I went down and further broke down what we knew about the property work-wise and projected cost to fix it all up. It was, 90 grand, 100 grand or whatever, what investors would be looking at it, what they would pay, a retail buyer, what they would pay. I go through the whole thing, and then I made my offer based on that, okay? And on this particular deal, we ended up putting it together. We had to pay $800 for it, plus my fee, $832, and we ended up selling it in 4 days for $960 as is, and somebody else was going to spend the 100 grand to fix it and try to chase 1213. We weren't going to do this. The seller of this estate was a Remax broker from Seattle, Washington. Smart gal, and she felt I overpaid for the property. I didn't throw anything in her face. I just said, okay, we'll do it though. We see value upside, so we did it. And sure enough, my guy, sold it for $960. I sold it for him. I put it on TAN. That's that top agent network. Another agent came and bought it for $960, and we had to pay a commission out to the other agent buyer. I made another 20 on top of my 32, so I made 52. And then my guy ended up making about 70 grand, I think, 75 grand over a 4-day period. He had his money out. Not a bad way to go. Okay, so summary, we're showing them that we're probate experts in the lingo and what they should know from other agents that they're working with. We show them that we've closed over 600, full service MLS, all cash, commission savings, the pest roof homework, inspections that we'll do and correct if we need to. Get a licensed certified appraiser if we need to, and work with their state attorney. This is all important things, and you can see most of this has been probate talk. Okay? All right, so writing our offer. So writing the offer is very important. Just on the car contract alone, there's just a few things that you need to know. But I'm summarizing this here today on this presentation because remember, I'm going to be writing this offer with you for your first few, whatever it is that you need. Okay, I have agents that actually after one, they know what they're doing because they take good notes and they have the example of their contracts and all that. And maybe they just need to call me a question or two on a consultant basis. Other ones, on average, about 3 deals and they know what they're doing. Then I'm just a consultant. Other ones say, Gary, I just want to stay with you. You handle the probate side. I'll do the rest. I'm happy with 50%. And I still do business with them. So whatever you want to do, whatever your comfort is. So writing your probate offer, we're going to talk about the car contract, the addendum, that's all important, deposits, what you need to know about those, binder policies, if you don't know what those mean, if you're working with investor agents, escrow, how you're going to handle that, and your commission, how you're going to be paid on deals where it's a net sales price to the estate, okay? So now this here, we're done with the listing presentation now. We either got that listing or we're continuing to following up with them or whatever. They're checking a few things out, and then we'll follow up. So now we're talking about, they want an offer, so we're going to put our offer together. So basically, this is the probate purchase agreement. This is on your WIN forms. And these circles here are just things I'm going to be talking about. I'll normally go in with a 15-day close. If I know that there's a sole heir that I'm dealing with, we're going to show them the best light. Now, I may have to adjust the closing in escrow because we have to do a NOPA and somebody's contesting, and it's going to take longer than 15 days because a NOPA by itself is 20 days, right? And I may have to extend it to 35 or whatever. But going in, we want to show the best situation for them to get this done quick, all right? We're going to talk about the deposit. Deposit that you come in with, if you're the only offer, we'll normally put up $1,000 with it. It's not a lot, right? Because normally you're used to putting anywhere from 3% to 5% of the offer price. But with us, remember, we don't really have any other competition at this time. There's no other offers. I'm going to increase the deposit But going in, until I do my due diligence and know all the numbers inspection wise and that we're still going to be able to buy this house, I'm just going to put up $1,000. And then I increase it, in this case 24 more, one day after we have removed our inspection contingency. That makes sense, right? And I just tell them, look at, we're going to get all our inspections over the next 10 days, or we got 12 days to remove our inspection contingency, or whatever you write in for your due diligence. I'm going to put up 1,000 now because we don't know if this is going to go, because there may be more work than we can see cosmetically, right, Joe? Maybe there's foundation issues, whatever. We don't know. And if that work comes out too much, then we're not going to be able to buy your home, and then we'll give you some options to go from that point. I don't say we won't be able to buy your home at this price. We'll have to negotiate it down, because that's planting the seed. They're not going to get this number. I want them to know they're getting this number if everything works out. So I say, but as soon as we know all the inspections and it looks like we're in good shape, we'll go ahead and increase the deposit to $25,000. Okay? And we're going to do this one day after due diligence. Now, during the due diligence timeline, we're going to get all our inspections. We're going to know if this deal is going to go or not, depending on what they told us on the price, how hard it was to get our price, if we feel there's going to be any movement, if there's more work done. Because our price is going to be somewhere between 75 to 85% of ARV with this offer going in. And you need to be there. Because if not, and you're trying to come in at 70 cents on the dollar and then less work, it's going to be very hard to get anything accepted. Okay, so what we do is we get a price that I know I can sell the property for. So if I'm in there at 75 cents on the dollar, depending on the price range, if it's up around $1 million or so, we can even go 80% of that price and make it work, because it's such a larger number, depending on the work, right? But if you're dealing with a property for 200 and you're giving them 75% of value, then you only got a 50 grand buffer there, and that has to fix up any property, resale costs. You may not make any money, so you may have to be at 70% of that 200 or 140. And then if there's work that's called for once it comes in, you may have to negotiate again. So it all depends. But going in, I'm showing the best light, and yes, we will close if everything comes out clean. And we know the cosmetic condition up front, but we don't know reports yet, right? So on the first page, that's what we're doing. We put it's an all-cash offer because we want to show position of strength here, okay? All cash. Then we're going to page 2 here. The appraisal, if we're all cash, we're going to say there's no appraisal contingency. You know that. Now, on the bottom, item 4 is where the car contract is different. And it talks about which way this probate is going to go. And we always mark the box 3 that says no court confirmation required. Now, if we're full authority under the independent administrations, we know that. If it's court confirmed or with limited authority, then of course we wouldn't say that, but we just say it's undetermined. And that's the first box, because we may try to petition the court through the executive administrator to change that from limited authority to full authority. The reason it's limited authority sometimes is either the court feels there's fighting amongst the family, or the estate attorney, there's fighting amongst the family members, and we better have everything checked and double checked. So this is going to be limited authority. Or the family members don't trust the executive administrator, so the court wants everything checked and double checked. That's why you see limited authority. Or the estate attorney says, you know, this guy, nice kid, he's a sole heir, but man, he doesn't got a lot going on here. Who knows what he's going to do? We better stay on top of this. We're going to recommend limited authority for him and move on it that way. So everything is checked by the court. He can't do anything on his own. And that's usually the reasons for that. But for the most part, when we're going in on an IAEA deal with full authority, we're marking court confirmation not required. Now, something should change during due diligence, and the estate attorney says, oh, something was wrong, and the court wants us to go through court confirmation. Well, that just broke my offer's terms that was signed, so I have the right to back out of that deal. Okay, so that's why we always put court confirmation not required, unless it's limited already. Okay, now we're always going to mark that there is an addendum 1 part of this, because the addendum is going to be where we have the meat of our language of keeping all this in order, in check, and controlled, okay? And we're going to do our normal, what we normally would do in the contract on, the buyer shall pay for smoke detectors. Under a probate, you don't have to have any smoke detectors. You do have to have the carbon, but they're exempt from some things, okay? So we're going to mark the buyers doing it, and also escrow and title, we're showing the buyers paying for all that. And we want it to go through my company, Old Republic Title, okay? Because I want to make sure this goes smooth with my company, and they've closed hundreds of these for me and know what I'm doing. We're also going to put on the top here that we want 110% binder with this through Old Republic Title. Now, I'll assume that some of you don't know what 110% binder is, so I'm just going to clarify for the mass here. 110% binder just means that you're buying this property, but whoever's buying it is planning to resell it within 2 years. That could be an investor that's going to fix it and flip it. That could be a buyer that's just moving in on a job transfer and knows they're going to be here less than 2 years, but they want to buy something and they're going to sell it. But somebody's buying it now that's going to resell it within 2 years. And by placing 110% binder, which means they're paying 10% more in their title insurance, it's going to refund them back the original full cost for title insurance if they sell the property within 2 years and go back through the company that issued the binder, which in this case would be Old Republic Title. So if it was a $2,000 normal title insurance, they got 110% binder, then going into the closing of the purchase, they'd be paying $2,200, right? So 10% more, $200 more. Then when they resell the property coming out on the flip or exit strategy within 2 years, they get that $2,000 of that $2,200 refunded back to them. So they got that money back for their title insurance. Now, in some markets, and we're starting to head to that buyer's market again, we've been able to get our title insurance paid by the estate because they have to be a little bit more lenient to sell their property because it's starting to be a buyer's market. Now, in this case, if you got the estate to pay the binder, that $2,200, that $2,000 that you get back for you, because the estate paid it, but it's just they paid your closing costs, the binder's in your name as the binder, as the buyer, then you just made $2,000 on your bottom line when you go to resell because you didn't put that up. So you're with the binder, you're either getting your money back for title insurance, which you got to have, or you're making $2,000 in that case. It helps your bottom line, okay? All right, then vesting information. When you got vesting, we always put on there to follow, to be determined at removal of inspection contingencies or whatever. Because sometimes you may have a buyer buying this, and once they get to due diligence, they decide they don't want it for whatever reason. And then you have another buyer that says, I'll take it. Because you shop around. You always have somebody else you can take it to if the deal looks like it's going to be shaky. And then all you're doing is removing on an addendum the old buyer's name with the new buyer. And that's why it's going to be determined in title when we get ready to close who the buyer is going to be. Okay? And then, of course, you got your due diligence time. Seller has X amount of days, whatever you choose, and the buyer has. My suggestion here is when you're going in with your contract, you cut your time down as minimal as you can, so the estate is not, stretching it out. Of course, if we were the only offer, then I take as much time as I can, 17 days by default in our contract, because that gives me more time to check the property, find another buyer, landlord or retail, if I'm suspecting that the work's going to be too much, and I don't think this estate is going to budge on the numbers. So I'm looking for a buyer. If that happens, before I have to remove due diligence, I can bring them right in and keep the deal together. Because all the estate cares is, are they getting the same net that they were going to get from you buying the property? That's all they care about. It doesn't matter if you're bringing in another buyer, you're changing the way they're financing from all cash to a loan. As long as they're not paying for anything and they're getting the same net, you're okay. All right? So in that case, you'll cut your time down if there's another offer that you're fighting against to 10 days or 7 days. whatever period of time it's going to take you to get your inspections. I have one buyer that does his own inspections. I could cut it down to none. I could waive it if I had to, because he'd have to see it already, and he'll tell me, yeah, we're cool with it. He may bring his contractor with him, okay? Now, notice to perform. Of course, this is like your regular contracts. You always want to put in there at least 5 days. So if you're late on your removal of your contingency or whatever trigger you're supposed to do, they got to give you at least 5 days with written notice so you have time to put it together. And our purpose is we want to take it to somebody else, right, and see if we can still salvage this deal and earn on it. Compensation. Now, the way we do this, and some of you may be thinking, well, how are you paid if there's no listing agreement and there's no commission being charged the estate, you're charging the buyer, what do you do? Well, it's very easy. The way we do this is, well, let me roll back here first. I'll show you that in a minute. When you have the seller, the estate, sign your contract, you got to make sure if they're the executor, then they're going to sign it executor name, executor Joe Smith. Okay, so you say Joe Smith as executor or administrator, whoever they are, for the estate of John Doe, whoever that is. Anytime they have to sign their name, have all that. John Smith, executor for the estate of Joe Blow. Okay? That's all you got to do. And then in my contract, I just fill out the selling firm only. I'm not representing the seller. Remember, the buyer's paying the commission. We're doing all the work that a listing agent would do as far as the transaction goes in escrow, but the buyer's paying us our 4% minimum to 6%. So if you fill out, you're the listing agent as well, then you got all those fiduciary responsibilities and things that you don't quite have if you're just representing the buyer, okay? Even though you got to get that work done. All right, so let's get into addendum. So on my addendum, now it'll change a few times, but circumstances will dictate if I add another clause in or not. But normally what I do is I re-clarify that the sale is as is, all cash, okay? Subject to buyer's approval of inspections of choice within how many days my due diligence is, okay? So that tells the world that even though it's in the printed form, now I have some guys that tell me, Gary, you're repeating what's in the contract already. You don't need to. It's just going to maybe bring up questions from the estate and all that. And that's true. But what I do from experience is I want to overkill, because I've had people who are not real estate agents say, well, I didn't know that was in the printed form. I didn't know that. So what I'm doing is re-clarifying it kind of in layman terms that they sign, so if that ever comes up, I have extra added protection. And it hasn't really handcuffed me at all over the years and not getting deals, okay? The second item is going to talk about the Independent Administrations of Estates Act and what we have to have in there in the language that is subject to this deal going through it, okay? And that there's going to be a NOPA's done. And so that's the language we have in number 2. And again, remember, I'm just opening your eyes. I'm not going over every word here because we're going to do this together when you're in a deal. Okay? We're going to talk about the NOPA will be removed 1 day after the inspections removal contingency is removed. Because we want to make sure, if you do it up front, that most estate attorneys like to do, then once you get into the due diligence and inspections come back and the estate heirs have received a number that they're going to get in the terms, and then we get the inspections and we have to change those numbers, well, the estate attorney is going to have to redo it, the NOPA, terms have changed, charge the estate again, and then send it to the heirs. Now the heirs are going to say, well, wait a minute, we were getting 500, now we're only getting 450. What's going on here? Something smells fishy. So what I do is wait, and I instruct the attorney not to do the NOPA until 1 day after contingency removal. So we have all our terms hashed out. And if we change anything, I give those new terms to the estate. It's signed on an addendum, and we're ready to go. If I have to bring a new buyer in, that's changed on the addendum. If I have to bring a retail buyer in, now it's going to be an FHA deal. I have the new contract signed and bring it in. Then those terms are going to go out. Okay? So that's the point and the reason why we do that. You're gonna want to have statements in here that the estate is responsible to have all utilities on, PG&E, so we can do all of our inspections. I've had properties before where the PG&E wasn't on, and it cost us $1,500 to get it on because somebody cut the main service line, so we had to have it all redone. So now, learning from that experience, seller, you have to be able to have the property ready to inspect. If there's anything wrong, that's your cost to get it so we can do our inspections, and everything is held until we can do our inspections. Okay. We're going to talk about one of the good things here is if your client happens to be a licensed California broker or agent, like a lot of my investors are, you have to declare that in your contract that principal or Joe Blow is a licensed California broker, or the Lilly Incorporated LLC or whatever they are licensed California brokers acting as principal in this transaction. Okay, so they're not tying them. You have to be able to disclose that your client has a license. Okay. If there was tenants in there, we want to put on there that the tenant must get out of the property by the close of escrow. You got to make sure if there's a tenant on a rental agreement, in California, if they've been in the property over a year, you have to give 60-day notice for them to move, sometimes 90 depending on where they're located. And you got to make sure if you're buying this thing, you might inherit that tenant. Well, we'll use that actually as a plus for dealing with us because maybe that tenant is causing a problem, and we'll tell the estate, and we'll close this with the tenant in there. You gave us their rental agreement. They're a month behind. We'll handle them. And if I have to evict them afterwards or whatever, we'll get that going. Okay, but we'll get them out of there. And that sometimes will get you a deal, and maybe the estate gives you a little more money or a little less off or more off the price because you're taking that on. When I have to do that, I usually charge the estate a $5,000 eviction fee and put them in there in the escrow that if we have to evict after the close, that we have that $5,000 to use to offset the cost. Okay, you just do what you got to do to get the deal done. And then I always put a statement, if needed, on the estate attorney that, because most of the time you're going to find that your executors, administrators are going to want this contract to be reviewed by their attorney. I got to run it by my attorney before I can do anything. You're going to hear that a lot. And if you allow that to happen, it's going to cost you a lot of deals because the attorney's not going to approve it. Okay? So the way we handle this is most of the time we're listing this property or selling it with a ratified offer before the attorney even knows. And then what we do is we'll put a phrase in there, say, okay, you want your attorney to look at it? We'll explain to them, look, your attorney's not going to approve this and the reasons why. They don't want that liability. They're probably going to tell you just to list it with their agent, Joe Blow. Why do you want to do that? If you agree with our numbers, let's get it done. Let me show you a better way to do this so you can make sure the attorney can look it over. Okay, how's that go, Gary? I'll put a clause in here that says this offer is subject to your attorney's disapproval in writing within 3 days from receipt of delivery. And if there's anything in there, I'll tell him that he wants to change or massage or whatever, we'll be able to do that. I'll get my attorney to talk to him and we can work it out. And that way, you're ensured that the attorney took a look at it. You're not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. Now, just like the attorney's not going to approve our offer, they're not going to disapprove it either. They're going to squawk a little bit. Why did you do this? We weren't ready to do this or whatever. You shouldn't have sold it or whatever. But normally that's because they just don't like losing control. They're not in the real estate business. They're in the attorney estate business. And all they were going to do was refer it to their friend, okay, who doesn't know much about probate, just does. They may be a great agent, but they don't know anything about probate. They do what the attorney wants. The attorney is comfortable with that. They don't know us. But if you can get that signature, then you're in. And the attorney is going to have to put in writing why he's disapproving it or wants the estate to disapprove it. They're not going to do that. They don't want that liability. Okay? So we'll put that in there. That normally will allow the executor or administrator to sign your offer when you're sitting there in front of them. Now, another thing can come up is they'll say, well, I like the offer, Gary. You explained everything good. The comps, yeah, I agree with these, but I got to get with the heirs and we got to go over all this. And I'll say, okay, I tell you what, your heirs are going to be getting secondhand information from you. You don't do this as a business to explain everything, to explain the comps and why that comp across the street is not a good one because this, that, or whatever. I go, why don't we do this? Why don't we put a clause in there for them? It's subject to their disapproval of the terms and conditions after they sit down with the selling agent who will explain everything to them. That way, I can sit down with them and make sure they explain everything, go over comps, whatever. And if we still have a problem, we were going to have it anyway, but this way it gets him to at least sign it. And if that heir is going to sign why he's contesting it, he's going to have a pretty good reason. Why? What are you not believing? Show me what I don't know of doing this for 40 years, and I'll be the first to agree with you. But there's nothing on here that states if they want to go as is all cash, this is the way to go. We've made the offer. If you want more money, we'll fix it up for you. Just put it on the market, but we got to be your listing agent. If that's the way you want to go, and all of your other heirs agree to that, hey, we'll go that way. We'll put this contract on hold. Now, when you're able to do that and sit with them all, or on a conference call with all of them, if they're scattered all over the country, you have a greater chance of putting this deal done. And if I have to go out to that particular heir and sit in front of them because they're the only one that's contesting this, I'll do that. Because if I'm chasing a 15, 20 grand commission on the close, and I'm going to get a listing coming out, make another 10, and maybe resell it myself for another 10 or 12, and I'm looking at 40 to 50 grand, I'm going to do that. And I'm sure you would too, okay? So the addendum, again, remember, just highlighting this, we're going to go over this when you have a deal, okay? Now, some of the probate advisories, remember, we're exempt to a lot of things in probate. There's no TDS, no NHD, okay? So you have to understand, though, if your client or you have material knowledge that there is something wrong there, you do have to disclose that. Because if it can be proven, you're going to have a problem. They don't use the earthquake guides. We don't have to put smoke detectors in. Now, we do have to put the carbon monoxide in, a few other things, okay? The water heater strap, the lead-based paint, and all that stuff, okay? Like I said, carbon monoxide. So there's some things, but this is just a probate advisory that is in wind forms. And when we do your deal, and we got join.me on, and we're sharing my screen with you, or your screen with me, and we got your forms up there, and we're filling everything out. I'm going to be explaining all this to you one-on-one, okay? That's what I'll be getting paid for, right? Sharing in a commission with you, okay? Then death, other considerations, death. Now, death is a tricky one. If a buyer wanted to know how the person died in the house, because a lot of times they'll ask, if you know that somebody died in the house within 3 years, you have to disclose that. You don't have to say from what. And if they ask, they want to know from what. You can't say, after asking the estate, natural causes, or what I normally like to do is get permission to send a copy of the death certificate, which the estate will have, and send it to the buyer's agent or my buyer, and it'll say on there the cause of death, respiratory problems, cancer, whatever it was, okay? Now, if they were murdered in the house, that's an issue. If you don't disclose that and you knew about it, but the TDS, you didn't have to put that out, and then they move into the house, and 2 months later, they're cutting their lawn, and a neighbor introduces himself and say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. It's too bad about the prior owner getting the shotgun death there in the back room. What are you talking about? Well, you got a problem. Okay, so you got to make sure that you disclose everything if you know it, okay? And if they died within 3 years, you have to give a disclosure on that. And if they ask cause of death, get a death certificate, get the approval of the estate. Now, commission, that I was going to talk about earlier. I use the commission agreement that's in wind forms. All I put in there is the cash buyer's name, or the buyer's name if it's a refi deal or a finance deal, okay? And they agree to pay to me, EXP, whatever the commission is, 6%, hopefully, 4 to 6. Identify the property, and on page 2 of that, I put commission due at close of escrow and buyer's closing costs. That's it. So when the buyer is buying all cash, he's paying $500 for the property, and my commission is $20, and he has, let's say, $3,000 of normal closing costs. His closing cost is going to be $23,000, and my demand will be in there for the $20, and the title company will pay me direct. Okay, the estate is getting what they thought they were going to get. They're not paying the commission. It's no big deal, and you have something in writing from your buyer. All right? Okay. So, writing your offer. Deposits, again, I want to go over that because it's important on the deposit things you need to know if it's full or limited authority, okay? If the PR is not approved yet, let's say that you're talking to the PR, they're not going to be approved to be executor or administrator for 3 weeks, but they're ready to sign your deal, and they sign it, and you put a deposit up. If they don't get approved for whatever reason, or there's contingencies because paperwork was done wrong, your deposit's going to be sitting in escrow. You're not going to be able to get it out because it can go in, but only the parties of the contract, which in our case is the buyer, they'll sign it, but the executor is not the executor because they didn't get approved. So title will require, some titles, most of them, will require the new executor is going to be appointed, go through that process, and then come and sign the release to get you your deposit back if they're not going to honor your deal. So if you don't have certified letters that they've been approved yet, just put up the $1,000 because you can risk $1,000. And when you have your deposit increase, it's subject to release of inspection contingencies, and also that certified letters are in. Okay? And you'll be okay there. Okay? If the executive administrator is already approved, then great. Do your deposit. It could be 3 to 10%. You could do the $1,000 up front. The rest of the increase, as I said, after you remove your inspection contingency. Okay? 3B on the probate purchase agreement handles the increased deposit. We kind of saw that. Okay? If you're doing a court confirmation deal, you're going to need 10% up front just to make your offer. But that'll go to title company. Don't give it to the attorney. Okay? Tell them you want it in the title company. You're going to open a pre-sale escrow because you do have a ratified contract, but it's just not court confirmed yet, so it's not really confirmed yet, okay? But you can open an escrow and put the deposit in there, okay? If there's any court overbid, just so you know, if there's bidders there, if you're bidding on it, you're going to have your 10% with you in court. And again, you'll make your deposits payable to the estate of John Doe or Gary DeGrazia going to North American Title or whatever, okay? Binder policy, I explained to you. If it's a flip property, purchase property, you're going to be sold in 2 years, ask for the binder. If your title company does not have a binder, then you tell them, I can't use you guys because, this is a couple grand that we can get back. My guy's flipping this property. They're more likely are going to enact that they will do it. If not, you just run your probate deals like this through your probate title company that is on track and doing everything that you need to do to maximize everything that you can maximize, okay? I'm not going to go to the example again here because I already talked about, if it was 2,000, then it would be 22 with the extra 10%, and you get 2,000 back when you go back through the title company when you do your exit sale. All right? Makes sense? So, in writing your offer, escrow, your title officer needs to know probate. Remember I told you earlier, session 1, ask them, what are you going to require to close this? If they're asking for anything more than letters of testamentary or administration, notice of proposed action or waiver of, or a letter from the estate attorney at the Fed taxes, if they're asking for any more than that, they're overlaying, and you got to tell them, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to run this somewhere else because you guys are asking for more than necessary. They will probably accommodate you. Or if not, just use one title company that does everything the right way, the easiest way for you, for your probates, and keep doing your other deals with whoever you have a relationship with, okay? Now, what I do with my company is this. My title officer will receive my ratified contract. I prepare a letter, and title does, on the items that they need from the estate attorney. Okay, my cover letter also is with it. goes along with the title company's needs plus a purchase offer, okay? And we're going to send it to the estate attorney, and we'll refer to them, my attorney. If they have any questions, they can call Joe Blow and work out any discrepancies. Once another attorney for the estate understands you have an attorney with you, they're probably going to not bring up anything, okay? Or if you don't do it that way, you could just say, just with the clause of disapproval in writing within 3 days, and then you tell them, if you have any issues, let me know, and I'll have my attorney get a hold of you. Normally that stops any further issues coming up, okay? I have all this delivered by the title company that I'm using for the escrow, because I want record that it was delivered to them on what date and what time, because that starts the 3-day notice to them, okay? Got it? Going to have the title office call the estate attorney and have them, so I give her a copy of my PTS, which has all that information, and just so they can talk and tell them what they're going to need. We want to make sure that the attorney doesn't prepare the NOPA until 1 day after the buyer's inspections are removed. That's going to be in my cover letter. We're going to add our commission demand and set it to title, okay, that our buyers signed. If this is not just a regular, if you're a level 3 listing or a level 4 or 5, the commission is going to be in the listing agreements. But I'm talking about level 1 and 2 right now, okay? Got to make sure that the deceased bank account is open, okay, with the federal tax ID that they apply for, because that's where the funds are going to go when we close, remember, okay? Cash proceeds will be wired to the estate bank account. Got to make sure that you prepare that. If there's an LLC or court buyer, make sure that all of their legal documentation explaining who's what in the LLC or the corp is with your title company. They're going to need all that, okay? Final papers, I use a mobile notary so they can go right to the PR. If they're out of area or whatever, we set that service up. There's 800 numbers now that you can call, and they have these notaries that will go anywhere, okay? And, just as a convenience for them, the notary will go and sign them off. If they're going to title company, I'll tell them, if you go to the title company, I'll meet you there. We can go over everything together. If not, I'll be by my phone. When the notary signs you off, call me if you have any questions, all right? I always preview all the docs they're going to go before they sent to the seller. So if I see anything that's not right or needs to be changed, I can do that before it goes out, okay? And in writing your offer, commission agreement will be signed with the offer, okay? And your buyer's going to sign that. It could be anywhere 4, 5, or 6, whatever you feel. Remember, we base that on the equity we're passing through to our client. If it's a retail buyer, I'm normally going to ask for 6, because they might be paying 90% of value, which is a good deal for them. And if I put my 6, they're paying 96% of value, and that's condition predicate, right? So whatever the condition is at the time, they're paying 96% of that value, including my 6%. We're going to send that to title so they can place it on the final term sheet and make sure it's there, okay? Estate isn't paying any commission, level 1 and 2, so we got to have that in there. And it will be included in the buyer's closing costs. Now, if they're financing, okay, then I'll put an addendum in that the buyer is getting this loan, and so their price is going to be increased, and it's going to be increased to give the estate what they wanted to net, and it's going to include my commission, and the estate won't care that I'm getting 6 in this case, because they're getting what they wanted, and anything else that we need. If there was closing costs the buyer wanted, if there was fix-up, we just put that all in the addendum, or I rewrite the whole offer. When I sit down during due diligence, I have the estate sign a new offer with a new net sheet showing if they're still getting what they were going to get. All right? Again, foundation here. You don't have to sort it all out. Just file it, okay? All right? And there we go for that. If you're doing a wholesale deal, then we got a fee agreement with the buyer. It's normally the same way. What I do with wholesalers, I'll sell wholesalers properties to clients of mine, and my clients normally pay me. I normally like to put a referral fee for my fee and put it into the escrow on the buyer side. And then that way I have no paperwork to do with eXp Realty, because it wasn't my transaction. I was just getting a referral fee out of it. And that's where I like to be today. Okay? So again, as we go through deals, this will all be done for you with me or one of my cohorts if you're out of area, and eventually you'll get all this. Okay? So let's summarize everything because we're just about done here. Contacting the estate, we showed you how to do this. Now, for the new homework that you have, so you can start accessing the files, you can actually access them tomorrow if you get this tomorrow during the day, or if not tomorrow during the day when you do get it. What I need for you to do is just send me an email and say I'm ready to start calling executors, and then we're gonna hook you up with the leads that we have for the first month. Okay, there's absolutely no cost for this either. We're gonna give you the first month, so you're gonna be able to do practice calls. Okay. Um, the presentation, you have my presentation. Again, you don't have to worry about putting anything together because on your first deal that you get, I'm putting together the presentation for you. You'll have a copy of your own after we present it, so you'll have something to build with for the future. Okay? And then write in the offer. Don't you worry about it. I'm going to write it. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it on your win forms because it's your deal. I'm just acting as a referral agent. We're going to try for the signature at the appointment, or we're going to make it subject to the attorney's disapproval, like I said, within 3 days and get a signature. No big deal. You're going to get some that night. Other ones going to take a little bit. Other ones, you have no choice. They want the attorney to see it. It'll just be that way. And you just keep moving forward, and you don't care if it goes or not. You just keep moving forward and do property after property after property, because every one you do is going to teach you something that's going to improve your knowledge on this. Okay? And again, keep in mind, folks, I've been doing this for 30 years. I do it. I made my sole living up to 2016 buying and selling probates. Now I'm a referral agent working with my students in my inner circle. Okay? So I've done it. Okay? If you're dealing with anybody else that you've been learning probates from, if they're not in the field every day working this and can prove that to you, then they're probably not the guy you want to be learning this from. They're probably taken somebody else's course like my own, like some of my students have, and rehashed it around, changed it up a little bit, okay? But they're not really making their living or have made their living buying and selling probates like I have from both the investor standpoint and from the agent standpoint since 2000 forward, okay? We're the real deal, okay? So you want to take advantage of this, okay? And again, this is a foundation that we just went through today, okay? We will go through all this once you have an appointment and or a sale or a listing to do. You will learn by doing like I did. I tell people all the time, it took me almost a year and a half to do my first deal, but you heard about that session one. That was a big payday. We made like 150 grand gross, my partner and I. Okay, back in 87, early 88, I think, somewhere around there. It was our first one. Took a while, but that opened my eyes. You make that kind of payday back then in 87 when prices were, anywhere from 90 to 120,000, 150,000. That was a big payday. And I never looked back from there. Have I had deals that I've lost? Yes. Have I had frustrations from can't get a hold of a PR, or they tell me to call back in a month and then I see it was listed next week by somebody else? Yes, it happens. You don't let that bother you. You only think of moving forward, and you'll get your fair share. Remember, 11 properties brought me close to 300,000. My share of the commissions in 2016 just for the probates and trust properties I did, and another agent on most of those deals was getting paid as well because we were splitting them. That's what you got ahead of you if you take and run with this. It's not going to be easy, but you got me holding your hand. I didn't have anybody holding my hand when I started this in 87. I had to do by trial and error. I lost deals. Estates telling me the wrong information because they didn't want me to buy it because they wanted to, because I was dealing with every error then and the PR. Estate attorney's offices giving me the wrong date to show up in court to bid on it. I was there a day late, lost it. So I learned by doing. So I've rolled all of that learning of the last 30 years, and that's what my system is today. And that's what you're learning right now. Okay? So just get in the back of your mind, it's going to take a while. But if you just say, I will stay with this until I do one deal. It could be a listing. It could be just a purchase to a double end deal, or just you sold a probate and you only represented a buyer, or you bought one with an investor and you handled the flip and everything. And then you sit down and say, you know what? I didn't like that process. I'm moving on. Okay, I can respect that. But the majority of people leave because they haven't had any response in 3 months, sending all these letters out, and no one is calling them back. Oh my. Okay? That's happening to everybody else that's chasing probates. The smart guys are the ones that stick with it because everybody else is leaving. 90 to 95% are leaving, folks. Once they, I don't care who trained them, they're leaving after a while. Okay? All right? So, that ends session 2. Thank you. Got you out of here again under 2 hours. Hour 55. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll get this rendered and out. Session 1 is ready to go. We'll be sending that out tonight, if not by tomorrow. We hope to have session 2 out by Saturday, and session 3 we're just recording it. We're not trying live, so we'll get that out. So you'll have everything, before Monday. All right? And then if you're interested, I got to hear from you. Gary, I like everything. I want to get going. I want to start calling. You need to email me, GaryD.MrProbate@gmail.com, and say, I want to move forward. Give me your questions that you have. We're going to talk a little bit, if we need to, about making your calls, how to get your leads for the first month, and we'll go from there. All right? Ciao.